Well, the New World Order is losing the culture war, especially when it comes to the coup. So, some of you may have not heard this because, amazingly, the media is not reporting on it. It's a shock. But, yes, the UK has literally admitted the end to mask mandates, vax mandates, and vax passports. Oh, jeez, this is gonna hurt the narrative. Now, obviously, as you guys are aware, if the UK is doing this, Australia will most likely follow suit in the future. Canada will most likely follow suit in the future. And, well, the US has already has their own victories when it comes to this. But the reason why I think this is happening is mostly because of the protests. I think that's the biggest thing. But we'll get to all that in a sec. Let's hear it from the horse's mouth. And this guy possibly just re-won the election. Let's listen.
As a result, from the start of Thursday next week, mandatory certification will end. Organisations can, of course, choose to use the NHS COVID pass voluntarily, but we will end the compulsory use of status certification in England. From now on, the government is no longer asking people to work from home. And people should now speak to their employers about arrangements for returning to the office. And having looked at the data carefully, the Cabinet concluded that once regulations lapse, the government will no longer mandate the wearing of face masks anywhere. Mr. Speaker, we will trust the judgment of the British people and no longer criminalise anyone who chooses not to wear one. The government will also ease restrictions further on visits to care homes.
Wow, that is the wild...
So obviously I've taken this from Luke Widowski's We Are Change. Big shout out to Luke. I will put a link in the description below to his video. But yes, this is the Great Britain news. And that was basically... so he said there about the face masks mandates being removed, the passport system being removed, and the vax mandate, I presume that also is going as well, because if you're not going to monitor people's passports or vax passports, at the end of the day, what's the point of having the vax? I presume you'll still be able to get it if you want it, but it will be up to you, and you will have a choice. Hallelujah! Freedom! Freedom has won! Obviously, guys, like I say, the biggest reason I reckon this has happened is because of the fact that there are so many protests erupting all around the world that the media is refusing to cover, but is still happening on a weekly basis. Every week here in Australia, we have protests down at Parliament House. There is a protest planned again for this weekend. They started organising it on Tuesday. So at the end of the day, yes. So let's break it all down. So, England ends all COVID passports, mask mandates, work restrictions. And I presume vax passports as well. I like vax shots as well. Restrictions including COVID-19, masks, mask mandates, and work from home requirements will be removed in the England, UK. Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced on Wednesday. Johnson also suggested that self-isolation rules may also be thrown out at the end of March as the CCP Chinese virus pandemic becomes endemic. Effectively, immediately, the UK government is no longer asking people to work from home. The COVID pass mandate for nightclubs and large events won't be renewed when it expires in January 26th. And from Thursday, indoor mask wearing will no longer be compulsory anywhere in England. The requirement for second school pupils to wear masks during class in communal areas will also be removed from the Department of Education's guidance. Roaring cheers from lawmakers could be heard in the House of Commons following Boris's announcements on masks. People who tested positive for COVID-19 and their unvaccinated contacts are still required to self-isolate, but Johnson said it very much expects not to renew the rule when the relevant regulations expire on March 24th. As COVID becomes endemic, we will need to replace legal requirements with advice and guidance, urging people with the virus to be careful and consideration of others, which makes sense. Hey, guess what? If you have it, you don't go to work. You ring in sick, you have a few days off, and you get over it. And I am okay with that. I love that idea. As to remove testing rules for Vax UK bound travellers, Johnson said the government is reviewing the test arrangements on travel. So, at the end of the day, and it's not just News Wars that's covering this, also Not the Bee, Wow, England to end all mask mandates and Vax passports this month. Look, at the end of the day, this is going to send shockwaves around the world. And at the end of the day, other countries like Canada, Australia will most likely have to follow, because Britain has literally just set the new narrative. And look, at the end of the day, this is what we basically were hoping for. This is amazing news. The war is not over. Do not kid yourselves. They will circle back. They will Jeopardy this and circle back to these ideas at a later date if they can. We have to keep the pressure on them to not do that. We want to go back to a normality and a normal, like we were before the coup. And I would actually like more freedoms. So at the end of the day, it's very interesting that worldwide protests around the world, and all of a sudden they are now walking back these harsh restrictions. It seems like the New World Order is failed. They've lost this culture war, and to my understanding, the reason why they've done that is because of, like, this channel. Obviously, we're like a small pebble in a very, very large ocean, right? But people like Wadowski, We Are Change. People like Tim Pool. People like Stephen Banton and on the War Room, or Alex Jones on the War Room, or people like, for example, Ben Shapiro. All these, Louder with Crowder, all these guys. Us hammering people with the information and the facts. And what we're seeing here in Australia at the moment with a global supply shortage that is appearing to go worldwide, maybe the elites are panicking. Maybe they're like, hey, look, this ain't working. People are waking up too fast. We need to take back these restrictions. We need to put everything back to normal, because this is not what we expected. I don't know. I find it interesting this happened literally the same week that Davos has had their meetings, and presumably were like trying to walk it all back. I don't know. Maybe Davos got spooked by all the protests or something like that. Who knows? But it is a really big thing. Now, like I say, I do not think it's a surprise. Sorry, I was coughing. I do not think it's a surprise that this has happened literally a week or two after Davos. I don't know. Maybe Davos got spooked with all the protests around the world. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. Like I say, do not let your foot off the gas. People have a tendency to do this. Don't do this. We have to, first of all, tweet this video out. Get everybody out there to know about this. And then we can start demanding they do the same thing in our own country. And especially with Australia having a federal election coming up later this year, I can tell you now, there are Clive Palmer and a few other people are running on this whole removing all these mandates, and they are starting to get some serious poll numbers. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. Obviously, if this video has been helpful, please smack that like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Well done to the UK. You've started to think for yourselves. Great news. Now let's get Canada and Australia to do the same thing. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.